Today we're going to change the water pump on a nice Jeep. This is the straight 6. It's a 2004, and you can see the type of fan. It's a fan with the clutch in it. So we're going to have to undo this bolt here. But before we start doing all that stuff, let's take off some hoses and drain some of the coolant so that we don't make a mess. We're not doing a complete coolant flush or change. If you want to see how to do that on a car, just click on the link on the top left, and that's how you flush and change the coolant. But on this, we just want to change the water pump. It's leaking at the weep hole, which means that the bearing's going, and you'll know just because you see underneath. Oh, you can see that on the floor, but underneath there will be coolant. See how there's coolant on there? And that's just because the weep hole is leaking, which lets you know that the bearing's going and you need to change it. First thing we're going to do is take off this hose right here so that we have more access to this the fan. And then we're going to take off this bolt right here counterclockwise. They do sell a special tool for it, a fan belt or a fan wrench, but I'm going to try using a regular tool that I have, and then if that doesn't work, then I'll have to go get it. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to get it to work. So we just want to remove this so that we have more room, and we're also going to remove the fan shroud, and there should be like 4 bolts, something like that. It should be really easy to do. So let's get to work. Okay. Good, so we got this piece off. Put it aside. Now we're going to want to try to get this bolt off, this fan bolt off. See if this could work. Just to show you how I did this, I got the 1/2-inch wrench on one of the pulley, the water pump pulley bolts, and then I just hit the big wrench that's on the bolt, and I hit it with a hammer, and so you hang on to that and just hit this sideways really quickly, just knock it like that, and it loosens it. So now you could actually take the whole thing off by hand. Just one of these pipe wrenches I used. It's actually freezing cold out, which is why I have gloves on. So you can see the bolt spinning freely, and you can actually see the clean metal underneath as the bolt comes off. So the fan is almost all the way taken off. So now we're going to unbolt the fan shroud. Take this off, and there's a few bolts on the fan shroud, so we could just lift the fan shroud off, and then we have a lot more room to work with. That's one. The other one is just all the way down. Slowly spin it, hang on to the blade so you don't drop the fan. Just like that. Be careful not to hit the radiator when you lift this out. There we go. With the fan shroud and the fan out, you want to make sure you place the fan so that it's like sitting in the car pretty much, because there's fluid in here and you don't want the fluid to leak into the bearing on here. So you stand it just like that. So don't lie it down. So now you can see, look at all the room that we have. Woohoo! Just got to be careful because you don't want to damage this. We're going to take off the bolts on the pulley that connects to the water pump and the fan. So the fan's off, there's 4 bolts right here, and They're 1/2 inch, so let's take them off. I'm just going to break all the bolts. I'm using this wrench to hold this bolt because even with the belt on it slips. So I break all the bolts. So here are the bolts that you're going to want to undo. There's that one, that one, that one, and that one. This is where the fan goes on. So once you get those loose like I did, you're going to take the belt off. And I'll show you how to take the belt off. You just take a ratchet and put the square end in here and you turn it, and this pushes down, which will loosen up the belt. So I'll show you how to do it. I actually have a special tool for this. You don't need it. It just makes your life easier. It's like a breaker bar. If you fix your car a lot, you end up using it a lot. See? That simple. And it just relieves the pressure on the belt. Continue to take these screws off. Use a screwdriver. Be careful not to mark the edge. Get behind here and just squeeze it out like that. And here's your pulley. And then you got access to your water pump right here. Here's what the water pump looks like. It goes in like this. So what we're gonna have to do is take off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 screws, okay? 5 bolts. And then we're gonna take off the hose and undo the hose. Give you a good look at what the water pump looks like with everything out of the way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I don't know if you can see it. 5. Good thing is, pretty much, I think everything I've done so far is 1/2 inch, which is really easy, because then you just need one ratchet and just a few extensions. So break all these loose. Not bad. When you take off that bolt, that block is going to drain, so I have a bucket ready, and you're going to have to clean up a little bit of a mess, but nothing a paper towel can't do. And also, as you take bolts out, I'm putting them in the new one the correct way, so you know where each bolt goes. Just a quick tip to make sure you put the bolts in properly. Only have to do the one under here and the one right there next. Last bolt. All the bolts are out. Now we're going to take off these hoses. So just grab your pliers. Wiggle this back off there. Surprisingly hard to do with one hand. Okay, good. And then we're going to take this hose off. We're just going to pull it off. And then this one, we're going to go up here. Because this is like a metal, so you can't just unscrew it. So we're just going to go up here. Slide that down, and then we're going to pull this off. To get the water pump off, take off this idler pulley, because there's this metal hose that you can see that needs to fit in there, and it doesn't exactly come out very easily. So that's a 9/16 wrench. Before you take out the final bolt, I would try to get this off first so that you have leverage to pull this off. And yes, that's what I'm going to go do now. Just like that. Just push that to the side. Take off that final bolt. Just like that. So now we have the whole water pump out. So what I'm going to do now is just get some liquid wrench and get it in here. Just try to get this nut or pipe or whatever this thing is. Try to get it off. So I'm going to let that soak. As that soaks, what we want to do is get this old gasket completely off. We want this to be like it was brand new. So we want all this old gasket off. Has to like perfectly come off, because any little piece in here is gonna ruin the mating surface and it'll leak. And you just did all this work, you don't want the new water pump to leak. You could use a razor blade and just scrape this off. This is nice and clean. I went all the way around the edge. Take your time with this. Make sure this is the hardest part to get to right in here. You don't want to groove it. You don't want to make any grooves in here. But you want to get all the gasket off and all the rust and gunk and stuff that's going to make it an incomplete seal. But this is really nice and smooth. So I'm just going to clean it off with a paper towel, and then we're going to take off that metal hose from the old water pump. So this thing's been a real pain. I'm using some heat, some liquid wrench. I'm hammering when I hit the put the liquid wrench on. I'm holding it up so it seeps in and just causing vibrations. And then there we go. Standing on this thing. There we go. So the heat, liquid wrench, everything, plus a lot of torque. There you go. So now we want to clean this really well, and we're going to put anti-seize on it, because I mean this is iron and this is aluminum, so they expand and contract at different rates, so it's going to get seized up. So I got some Teflon thread sealant, and you want to use very, very, very little of this. Just enough like that. Just enough to go all the way around. I might need a little bit more. Just a little bit. And you're going to use this on any threads that go into the water pump, so that 1, they'll come off later, and 2, they won't leak. That's definitely what you don't want, a leaking water pump. So now that we got that thread sealant on there, let's thread this in to our water pump. And remember, this faces, this pipe that's facing out that way is supposed to face back. Just like that. Okay, so that is ready to go. Before we put the gasket on, we're going to want to go and put the new thermostat on. So the thermostat is going to be behind these 2 bolts. This will come up. The bottom bolt is the shorter one. So here's the bottom, and we want to get all this gasket off. Make sure this is nice and clean, and then let's go take a look at the thermostat, which is right there. This will come right out. and then it goes in like that to replace the thermostat. Nice and easy, and make sure the gasket is completely off of here as well. So that's what I'm doing now. Very simple. Let's get done. So we're going to take our new thermostat. Just put it in just like that. And you can see these are all nice and cleaned. Can't see because the camera's not on it. But this is all nice and clean and flat. And so is this. So now we take our gasket, get the screw, the top screw, and push it through. And take this, take the bottom screw and push it through as well. So now this will hold it in place. And just push the gasket down on all sides. Keep that gasket nice and tight. There we go. And then just hand thread these for now. Since there's a gasket on here, you're going to want to make sure you tighten the top and the bottom at the same rate. So like when you do the top, you do the bottom. You do when you get close, of course. So now that everything's kind of getting snug, you just go back and forth. Snug this one up. Then you go back down to the bottom. Snug that one up. You go back to the top, snug that one up, and then give this, torque it to manufacturer specs. That's on there nice. So we just finished doing the thermostat, now we'll put the water pump on. So here's our water pump, here's how it's going to go in, like this. We're going to put here's the top bolt. So this is going to go like that, and want to make sure, there we go, that fits nicely on there, and that bolt keeps it in place. And if you want, they make a liquid gasket too. You could put a little bit of liquid gasket on here and on the back, and that helps with the adherence and with leaks. It will be less likely to leak if you have some liquid on here. So, and we're going to go and put the Teflon on this screw right now. With a little bit of Teflon on the screw, now we're going to go down, put this on. And just hand tighten it. We want to get this first top bolt in before we do anything else. Don't tighten it all the way, just get it in so that's in the block. Okay, good. Now we're going to start putting the other bolts in. We're going to put the Teflon stuff on them and push them in and tighten them down. Don't tighten them down all the way because there's a gasket. We want to tighten it down equally in a star pattern. So top, bottom, side, 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 side. All 5 bolts are in. Now I'm going to start tightening from one end and then do opposite. So here's the top. I'm going to tighten this down just to get it snug. Not super tight. Just so that, see how it's snug now? Now I'm going to go to the bottom and do the same thing. Now I'm going to go to the top side, snug that one down. Now I'm going to go to the bottom side, snug that down. And then I'm going to do the last one that hasn't been touched, the other bottom side, snug that down. I'm going to repeat. This time I'm going to tighten them pretty good. Okay, new water pump is on. So let's connect this hose here. And let's connect this hose that's up over here. Good. good. And then we'll pull these back with the pliers on this one and this one. Next we're going to put the idler pulley back in. Very simple. Find the hole where the bolt goes, put the ratchet on and ratchet it in. Torque this to spec. Now we put this hub back on. Very simply. It comes with these, it uses these 4 bolts, you know, and then get the other ones on. Just hand tighten them for now. So once those 4 bolts are hand tightened onto the pulley, we're going to get the belt on. So to do the belt, there's a sticker right here. Like so. And we're going to put this underneath the idler pulley. Now with the belt on, we could tighten down those bolts. Now we're going to go put the fan on. So the fan will go on with the fan shroud. Just drop both of them in. Careful not to damage the radiator. Just like so. Very easy to do. And when the fan's on, we'll get the screws in here and put the fan shroud on. Remember, the 4 screws in. So once the fan shroud's on, we'll tighten the fan down. So the same thing you use to loosen the fan, use to tighten. Get it nice and tight on there. Okay. Now that that's on, we put our last hose on and we fill the coolant. So now we're going to put coolant in. You just fill the coolant in here, 50-50 mix, and then once this is full, you fill this to the full mark right there, and you could bleed it by pressing on this, and bubbles will come out of here. You just squeeze it, and then run the engine till it warms up. Go out for a ride, get the engine nice and warm, make sure your car doesn't overheat, and that's a job well done. And that's how you change the water pump in a Jeep Wrangler, straight 6.